Gentleman's game here. So here's an annoying scenario that almost any guy that's ever used an online dating app like Tinder has experienced before. You're trying your best to get matches, making sure your photos are on point, your bio is witty, you're swiping right on these cute girls for hours, but for some reason you're just not getting any matches. And then even worse, you come across a profile of a girl who's not even that cute, maybe a 5 or 6 at best, and then you read her caption. I'm looking for a guy who's at least 6 feet tall, it reads. Also, I want him to be making at least $150K a year with the fancy car. Oh, and you have to be funny and know how to cook too. You look at her picture, again, not hideous, but definitely nothing special. An average girl like her, you think to yourself, thinks she's entitled to some rich Prince Charming? You roll your eyes, she's completely delusional, and you swipe left. And the thing is, I'm beginning to notice this delusional behavior as being more and more common. In fact, a survey conducted last year showed that 80% of men were categorized as below average. The vast majority of women they showed felt entitled to the top 20% of guys who were clearly out of their league. This psychology of a delusional individual that overestimates their self-worth is something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. In 1999, two social psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, published a study on how people with low ability have a tendency to maintain the illusion of superiority when it comes to their skill or worth. An example they gave was MacArthur Wheeler, a bank robber who in 1985 robbed 2 banks, and he did it with his face covered in lemon juice. See, Wheeler thought lemon juice had special chemical properties that would make his face invisible to the surveillance cameras. He somehow misunderstood how lemon juice was used as an invisible ink, where he thought it made him invisible, and oh boy, did he pay the price for his screw-up. And the more David Dunning and Justin Kruger performed and observed psychological experiments involving everyday people, the more and more they would see this phenomena of incompetent people overestimating their competence. For example, the average adult male overestimates his ability in a street fight by 4,000%. Right, most people tend to overestimate their IQ, and as we just discussed, many women on Tinder think they're more attractive than they actually are. But here's the thing, I notice this delusional behavior in men also just as frequently as I notice it in women. See, I get hundreds of messages a week from guys asking for advice, and very commonly a conversation ends up looking like this. Hey gentleman's game, there's a girl that I really like. I think about her every day. I feel like if I could just get her to see me as a potential boyfriend, we'd be so good together. What should I do? And then I go, well, okay, sounds like you're really into her. Have you talked to her much, or do you hang out with her ever? And they'll go, well, not really, we've only talked a few times, but I just really want her. So why are you so into her when it seems like you don't know her that well? She's just so beautiful, man, the perfect package. Okay, you mind giving me an example of this kind of girl that you're really into? Just curious. Then they'll send me a picture of their crush, and 9 times out of 10, this girl will be a stunner, or as they say these days, an absolute baddie. The type of girl who has thousands of followers on IG with a bunch of thirsty dudes commenting on her pictures how pretty she is. Right, then I'll reply to the guy, huh, okay, so it seems like you want a 10 out of 10 stunner. You bet I do. Okay, so then let me ask you, how would you say you look? Oh, I'm not bad, decent. Okay, so decent looking. How much money do you make? Not very much yet. Okay, so doesn't make very much money. Do you have your own apartment? Nah, I live home with my mom. Okay, so doesn't have his own place. Are you very confident when you walk into a room? I'm okay, working on it. Okay, so not the most confident. Are you in great shape? I'm decent, just started going to the gym 3 months ago. Okay, so in decent shape. And so I gather and process all this data, and then I ask, why don't you try talking to a girl who's a bit more average looking? Maybe one who doesn't have like a bunch of followers on IG. And then this is when they'll start getting defensive. Oh, no, chill, man. I really want this one. I mean, just look at her curves, man, and those lips and hair. Man, I need a girl that looks this hot. Again, an example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a sobering reality that a lot of the guys I talk to are just as delusional as the Tinder girls we were talking about in the beginning. In one of my videos from last month, 5 behaviors that make you extremely attractive, one of the things I listed was having way too high expectations. And I got pushback from a lot of guys in the comments. See, I'm not saying it's not okay for you to be attracted to a top 1% girl. But my point is, how can you feel entitled to a top 1% girl when you're not a top 1% guy? Right? It's pure delusion. Because that girl you really like, if she really is that attractive, she's gonna have lots of other options. So why would she pick someone who wasn't on her level? You see guys, I think a lot of this level of delusion I see from guys nowadays has a lot to do with porn. Right? Porn makes you think that you're the guy in the video having sex with all these hot women. So over time you program yourself, your brain, to feel entitled to a girl that sexy and hot, even though you never had to put in the work of being a high value man to where you can attract those kind of women. It's creating these false expectations for yourself in the real world, a complete disconnect from reality. I mean, how irrational is that? You know, imagine a guy who spends all his time playing an RPG game, right? And in the game, he finds a lot of gold. Right, and his character becomes really rich. He can buy all sorts of armor and skins and weapons for his character to use. And then he starts delusionally thinking that he's actually rich in real life. He walks into an Apple store and demands the newest iPhone and an iMac and the best pair of headphones in the store. And they tell him, sorry sir, it says your card is declined. And he starts getting all angry and defensive. What do you mean it's declined? I'm rich. I have all the gold in the world. Pure delusion, right? This guy thinks he's a lot more rich than he really is because of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Again, you can have whatever expectations you want when it comes to a partner. That's completely fine. But if you expect a top 1% girl without raising your own value as a man into someone who's qualified for a top 1% girl, it's not going to end up well for you. Now, there is one thing that I'll say can be an exception to this rule. There are actually times where, if your game is good enough and you have enough self-belief, you can actually get girls to see your potential rather than how successful you actually are in that moment. You know, think of the starving artist who has a super loyal girlfriend. Even though he's not selling much paintings or his SoundCloud music's not getting many plays, she believes that he's talented and that one day he'll realize his potential. But situations like these where a guy is still low value, but an attractive girl still wants him because of his potential is very rare. Because again, look at it from her point of view. Why would she waste her time waiting for a guy to fulfill his potential when there are already high value guys that are actively chasing her? It just doesn't make sense. Just think, would you do the same? If you had a choice between a beautiful feminine woman and a woman who was average looking, maybe kind of overweight, but had potential to lose weight and look pretty, which one would you choose? Be honest. The pretty woman or the work in progress? The hot one, right? So it's only natural women think the same way as well, preferring high value guys over average guys who don't have much besides potential. So you gotta understand this game when it comes to male-female relationships. Mainly what you decide to focus and spend your energy on. Instead of focusing on chasing girls, why don't you focus on getting in better shape or making more money? Right? Why don't you focus on working on your self-love, your self-confidence? Then, once you've become a high-value man for yourself, you can worry about getting those top 1% girls, and you'll actually have options to choose from. So that's it for the video, guys. To summarize, stop looking for shortcuts. Stop having delusional expectations to the type of girl you're entitled to when you haven't put in the work yet to being a high-value guy. Get off the porn and commit to being the best version of you. Once you do that, going after the hottest and prettiest woman won't be an issue because you'll actually be able to land them. You'll have the confidence to go up and flirt with anyone and actually get the kind of reactions you're looking for. Alright, next week I have a special video planned, so make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And as always, check out the description box below for my free 5-page PDF on the fundamentals of attraction and where you can follow my Instagram. Peace.